Good morning. Good morning. So today is day one of our tennis elbow challenge. It is our first tennis elbow challenge of 2021. I am Emma Green. I am the tennis elbow queen. So hello, if I've not met you before. I'm just going to give people a little bit of time to jump on. So if you are getting onto the live and watching me here, I would love you to type into the chat and let me know where you're watching me from. Our group is global. We're all over the place. So if you're watching me right now, please type into the chat and let me know where you are. If you're watching on replay, please type in the chat and let me know where you're watching me from. Because it's just really good to know where people are, what kind of time zones we're in, and that kind of thing. So obviously you can tell probably from my accent that I am originally from the UK, which has just gone into its third national lockdown. But you can probably tell from the sunshine behind me that I don't live in the UK anymore. I am based in the US and been here for 15 years, nearly 16, 15 and a half years. So please type in the chat and let me know where you are watching me from. And we're going to be spending the next 3 days together. So I will be going live in the group just like this today, tomorrow, and Friday. And then on Monday, we're going to do a bonus masterclass. I'm going to sneeze, hang on. Is it gone? Excuse me, there it was. Sorry about that. That wasn't too loud for everybody. So if you're just joining, please type into the chat and let me know where you're watching me from. So I want to say welcome to the challenge, and I love that you are being proactive about getting rid of your tennis elbow. Tennis elbow can be such a challenging thing to get rid of. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on me. So I work with tennis elbow clients and have done for the past now 12, probably nearly 13 years. And the very first client that I started working with, sort of 12, 13 years ago, really was the catalyst for me developing the program that I now use. He is a professional drummer and had tennis elbow and so couldn't play. And obviously that's a bit of a challenge for somebody who's a professional drummer. So I, at the time, was able to trawl the research. So I trawled through the research looking for all of the best research articles, the best research that had been done all around the world. And I pulled together a program that we developed. We tried different things and we found what worked. And so we pulled all of that together and it worked great. He'd been told he may never play the drums again by several doctors. And thankfully he got back to playing the drums. And so since developing that program, I've helped thousands of people get rid of their tennis elbows. And then that's what led to creating this group and this community and continuing to heal tennis elbows, because the tennis elbow is one of the problems that people can get that actually is 100% reversible. And we can't often say that. So if you do the right things at the right time, we can 100% get rid of tennis elbow. Yay! Does it happen overnight? No, of course it doesn't. But over time, if you do the right things at the right time, you can completely get rid of it. So Indiana, hey Teresa, nice to see you here. Thanks for playing along. So if you're just joining, please type into the chat, let me know where you're watching from. just so I can get an idea of where people are, time zones, that kind of thing. And I always like to have a little bit of a positive focus on everything too, especially with the current climate. So tell me something good that's happened to you in the last week. What has happened in the last week? Something that is good. I kind of think about, see, my kids started school again on Monday. And so it's kind of nice to get back to normal, whatever normal is. My kids have been remote learning for the past 10 months. So we've all been home together. And yeah, it's actually been a great experience. It's been great to be able to spend the time with them. So it is really good. Miami, I've got a couple of clients. I've got a number of clients in Florida, actually. Yes. So yeah, so let me know where you're from and what we're going to be covering. So today I'm going to talk all about braces, the different types of braces. So what I did, I put a post in the group, was it last week or the week before, and said, you know, what do you want me to talk about? If you could ask me one question, what would you ask me? And so basically from the answers that came up, I've collated these three sort of different talks that I'm going to give over the next 3 days. So today we're going to talk all about braces. Tomorrow we're going to talk all about posture and sort of best sleeping positions, ergonomics, that type of thing. And then on Friday we're going to talk about strengthening exercises. Tennis elbow is one of those things that it's multi sort of faceted, and you need to be doing different things for different things. And that's what I'm going to take you through. This is the third time now that I've done this challenge. If you are joining me again, you've done a challenge before, welcome back. If it's your first time, welcome to the challenge. I do give prizes. So this is an interactive challenge. This is not just me spouting information. There's stuff for you guys to do as well, because we need to start you on your healing journey. And so that's what we're going to do today. So I will give you some information today. We're going to talk all about braces, but then there will be something that you need to start today. There'll be an action item. If you've watched the other videos in the announcements section from the challenge that we did in November, you kind of know how that goes. There'll be an action item for you to do. That action item will be helpful in settling down your tennis elbow. So you're going to start that action item today. Now, there are 2 prizes that will be given. The initial prize, one prize, is going to be a heating pad. So I will send the winner the heating pad that I recommend to my one-to-one clients. And so the way you can win that prize is by being our challenge community champion. I've had to practice saying that. So our challenge community champion is going to be the person who is in the group, who is most supportive, who really sort of helps everybody along. Because you guys, a lot of you guys in this group, you're all in the same situation. And so if we can everybody help each other and everybody help to heal together, that's obviously going to be beneficial. So the challenge community champion is a person who will have commented the most, liked the most posts, reacted to different things, just been really supportive and really been there for everybody else. So whoever has been the most supportive, and there's ways I can kind of look at that in the group sort of objectively, they will become the challenge community champion, the very first one of 2021, and they will receive a heating pad. The other prize that I give is a 30-minute consultation with me. So somebody will win a 30-minute consultation with me. Now, in order to be in for a chance of winning that prize, you need to complete the challenge. Now, completing the challenge means doing each action item, and you don't have to, well, ideally you do them every day, because that's how we build up the healing process. But what you're going to do is you will take a photo of yourself doing the action item, and you don't have to have your face in it if you don't want to, that's completely fine. But you will post a picture of you doing the action item, or there'll be something that you need to post. So you will need to post 3 times between now, and obviously I'll give you another action item tomorrow and another one on Friday. Between then and Monday, when we do the masterclass on Monday, and that'll be at the same time, I go live in the group at the same time each day. When we do the masterclass on Monday, I will announce the winners of the prizes. So you need to have all of your photos or posts completed by Monday to be in with a chance of winning a 30-minute consultation with me. So on that 30-minute consultation, you basically get to tell me your story. I get to hear what's going on with you. Through the challenge, a lot of the information that I give is quite generic because obviously everybody is different. So I give you general information. On that 30-minute consultation, it's all about you. So you get to give me a story and I get to give you advice that is pertinent to you. So somebody will win that, but you got to be in it to win it. So we've got to play along. All right, so let's go into today's sort of little learning segment, which is all about braces. So people always ask about braces. And I think that's one of the things, when you have tennis elbow and you kind of type it in, lots of different braces will come up because these are the types of things that people have used to help. Can they help? Yes. Does everyone need to use them? No. And how do you know the difference? So there are different types of braces. The first one I'm going to talk about is the strap, kind of the strap that goes around the elbow, or I said around the elbow, it goes beneath the elbow. So if this is where you're feeling the pain for tennis elbow, the strap should not go over that. The strap should go below it, probably about an inch and a half below it. And it goes around the forearm muscle. That's where the strap goes. Now, there are lots of different straps on the market. Some of them are pretty expensive and some of them are very inexpensive. In my experience, it doesn't make any difference. So you could get away with probably, I don't know, like a $9 strap as opposed to a $49 strap. It's not going to make much difference at all. So the strap is basically put on that part of the forearm, and for it to work most effectively, it needs to be as tight as you can tolerate it without your hand going blue or tingling, because obviously that, cut your circulation off. So it does need to be tight. Basically, the way that strap works is as you put that strap around there and you have that tension around there, it takes the tension off the tendon. And that's what it does. So it squeezes through that part of the muscle, takes the tension off the tendon. The tendon is then allowed to settle down. Now, that in itself is a good thing, to take the tension off the tendon. However, there's always a but, isn't there? However, once you put something external on like that strap, the muscles underneath will start to switch off. Now, if those muscles start to switch off, they will start to weaken. Weakening or weak muscles is part of the problem of tennis elbow. And so as soon as you put a strap on, the muscle is going to weaken further. And so essentially you are prolonging the length of time that it will take for you to recover from tennis elbow by using a strap. So that's why I generally don't advise the strap unless, again, there's always a but, unless you are doing something that is absolutely 100% unavoidable. What I mean by that is, and I have had clients who are maybe moving house. Maybe they don't have any help whatsoever and they are going to be the one lifting and packing boxes and doing all of that kind of stuff that you do when you move house. In situations like that, I have said to them, use the brace, because you are going to be doing that stuff. We know it's going to irritate you. Use the brace so that you're comfortable. I have clients who in their jobs are very uncomfortable, and I will advise them to use a brace when you're doing those particular activities where it's very uncomfortable. I had a guy who was a sushi chef, and so it was very labor intensive with his elbow. He couldn't not work, he had to feed his kids, and so he used a brace while he was at work. So in situations like that, it's okay to use it. If you want to go out and play tennis, that's not a situation where I would say you put your brace on, because right now, if you cannot tolerate playing tennis without a brace, you shouldn't be playing. And it's not forever, it's just for now while it heals. I had another lady who wanted to clean her baseboards. And so she actually flared her elbow up cleaning her baseboards. And I said to her, what were you doing? She's like, I needed to do it. It's like, you did not need to clean your baseboards. So we have to kind of look at these different activities and look at wants and needs. Now, if you need to work, okay, there may be a situation where you need to wear the brace. If you want to clean your baseboards, that's not a situation where you should be prolonging the length of time that it's going to take for this to settle down. So the brace, the strap, does have a place, but ideally we don't use it because it does therefore then take longer to settle down completely from tennis elbow. That's the strap. Now, sometimes there's a strap that's integrated with like a compression sleeve, so like a neoprene sleeve. And so let's talk about neoprene sleeves. Some clients do get good relief from that. I kind of like that it will keep it warm, essentially. So if you are somewhere where maybe you're going to be outside and it's going to be cold, or maybe it's chilly in the office or something like that, a neoprene sleeve can be helpful to keep heat in there. And we're going to come on to heat later on today. That little clue, that might be your first action item. So a compression sleeve, the neoprene sleeve, that can be helpful. You don't want it to be too tight. Again, for the reasons of the strap, anything that's too tight, the muscles underneath are going to switch off. So something like a neoprene sleeve that is comfortable to keep the heat in, that's okay. But again, we don't want to become dependent upon it because we don't want that weakening of the muscles underneath. There are other types of braces. There's one in particular, I can't remember what it's called, but as somebody mentioned it to me relatively recently, and it's almost like it restricts your range of motion. So it kind of stops you from extending completely fully. That one, again, it's not gonna really make a difference because it doesn't take the tension off the tendon. I mean, it stops you from fully extending, but it's your triceps that do that. It's not the forearm extensors. The muscles that attach to the tendon that is involved in tennis elbow basically lift your wrist up. So they lift your fingers and your wrist up. So limiting your range of motion out there. Sometimes people get uncomfortable when they take their arm out there. It's really not going to make a whole lot of difference. And again, when you put something external on, the muscles underneath are going to weaken. So I don't recommend that type of brace either. Some people will get the sort of the little wrist braces. You may have seen these, kind of the little sort of, we call them a cock-up splint. It's got sort of a metal or a plastic stay in here, and it kind of just lifts, it keeps the wrist in that position. Some people advocate those because, as I said, this muscle basically lifts your wrist up and your fingers up. If your wrist is already in that position and it's kind of resting in that position, these muscles don't have to work as hard. Having said that, it's then not normal movement. So, there's sort of some benefits and then there's some negative connotations too. Some people do get benefit from the wrist splints at nighttime if they're getting numbness, tingling pins and needles into the hands. So if you're getting numbness, tingling pins and needles into your hands, it might be that you're somebody who kind of sleeps like this. That puts a lot of pressure in the carpal tunnel, and a cock-up splint, the wrist splint, can be really helpful at taking the pressure off that. So if you get tingling pins and needles, numbness into your hands at nighttime, and your doctor's told you to wear the wrist splints, that could be a good option. I was going to say that's the only splint we wear at nighttime. There is one more, because we wouldn't wear a compression sleeve at nighttime, and we wouldn't wear the strap at nighttime. Reason for that is that our circulation slows down when we're in bed at night. And if you've got something on like the compression sleeve or the strap, that because that kind of squishes, essentially, it compresses the blood vessels inside, it does put you at a higher risk for blood clots if you wear things like that at night. So it's an absolute no-no. So the wrist splint is okay to wear at nighttime because that is not going to compress through the blood vessels like these other ones do. And then the last type of splint or the last type of brace that I'm going to talk about is one that people sometimes do wear at night. There is a soft brace that It doesn't hold you fully extended, but it stops you from bending all the way up, because some people who do kind of sleep like this are just not very comfortable. And I'm going to talk a little more about sleeping tomorrow and the best positions to be in. But because we're talking about braces, I am going to touch on this one. So it's a soft brace that just basically stops you from fully bending. You can do that very simply with a sort of a rolled up towel. So imagine just like a hand towel, roll it up into a sausage shape, and if you kind of lay it along the arm, the front of the elbow like this, and then it's sort of like a very light bandage either end, because again, we don't want to squish those blood vessels. That can then stop you from fully bending, and that can make some people comfortable at nighttime. I am going to go into that much more tomorrow when we talk about sleeping. So that's what I have to say about braces. If you have a question about braces, please feel free to pop it into the chat right now, because I'm more than happy to answer questions that you have about that. So whilst people are doing that, I am going to tell you a little bit about what your top tip is. So if you've been in the group for a while or you've watched my other videos, you know that I really advocate heat for this. Heat, heat, heat. Heat is really, really helpful for tennis elbow. If you've only had this for a very short amount of time, I'm talking days, you probably want to ice it. Most people who find me and find this group have had this for way longer. So if you've had this for more than a few days, you probably want to heat it. Again, the only other exception to that is if you flare it up. So for example, go back to the person who was packing all the boxes and moving house. Maybe they flared up their elbow by doing that activity. You can ice it for 3 days just to bring that irritation down, and then switch back to the heat. But heat is your friend. The reason I advocate heat so much, twofold. The first thing is it's really good at increasing the circulation. So it increases the circulation to the tendon. Tendons have a very poor blood supply, which is why it takes ages for it to heal, and it won't heal unless you do the right things, because it tries to heal itself and then you irritate it, and then it tries to heal itself and then you irritate it. It just keeps going on and on and on like that. So heat, remember we sort of talked about the little compression sleeve that can give you the heat, but just a regular heating pad, a hot water bottle, a hot towel, hot shower, anything like this will help. Heat is really, really helpful. So that is going to be your task for today, is to get heat onto your elbow 5 times today, 10 minutes at a time. And that's a minimum. If you can do it more than that, if you can do it every hour, now that we're all sitting at home, if you can do it every hour, that's going to be even more helpful. So I want you to be doing that. So your task for today is going to be to heat your elbow. You're going to take a picture of that. You're going to post it in the group. And if you do that, and you do that for all 3 action items, you'll be in with a chance of winning a 30-minute consultation with me, where I can hear your story and we can talk about it together. So heat today, that is action item number 1. All right, let me see. Okay, I hope you do. Your doctor wants to give you a cortisone shot. You've had it for just over a week. Absolutely not a chance. Okay, so cortisone is I think so, it's been mentioned in the group a little bit recently. So cortisone shots used to be how they treated tennis elbow. And when I say used to, I'm like going back years. Like my mum had 2 cortisone shots into her elbow when I was a kid. So that was a long time ago. So it used to be how they treated tennis elbow. It used to be how they treated a lot of soft tissue injuries, because in the 50s, in the 1950s, a lot of the football players would get shots of cortisone before they went out to play every week. So if they had a little niggle, if they had a little injury, they would get a shot every week before they went out onto the field. And it worked, it worked for them until a few years later, when those soft tissues literally started to fall apart. So we now know that too much cortisone into soft tissues causes soft tissues to degrade, to degenerate, to degrade, to fall apart, essentially. So kind of the general rule that a lot of healthcare professionals will sort of adopt is basically you don't want to have any more than 3 cortisone shots into any area of your body in your lifetime. So if we can avoid them, we want to avoid them. Now, what cortisone is a very strong anti-inflammatory, is basically what cortisone is. It's a steroid, it's a very strong anti-inflammatory. The other thing we know, and again, this is all stuff that we learn over the years, is that tennis elbow is not an inflammatory condition. So there's not a lot of inflammation when you have tennis elbow. Right in the early stages, yeah, there possibly is. In the first sort of 3 days, 3 weeks, that's when you're going to have inflammatory cells. That's where anti-inflammatory sort of medication and creams, things like that, can potentially help. Once you get past the first 3 weeks, there's very few inflammatory cells there, and it's really not going to make any difference. You can get an acute flare, like we talked about, if you're moving house, and you can get a little bit of an acute flare up. But again, it's going to, if you do create any inflammation there, it's going to last for 3 weeks as an absolute maximum, and then there's no inflammatory cells there at all. The other thing that we're finding out about injections in general, and it's not just cortisone, this would cover PRP, it would cover stem cells, it would cover enzyme injections, it would cover any of those types of things, is that the actual mechanism of putting an injection into this tendon causes damage, makes it last longer, so it takes longer to heal just by the mechanism of having an injection into it, and you get a worse outcome. So you don't heal as well after an injection because of the physical mechanism of the needle going into the tendon. And the more injections you have, the longer it takes and the worse your outcome is. So we're learning all of these things. There are still a lot of old school docs out there who maybe haven't seen, I was going to say the new research. I mean, it's been out years. That still are subscribing to sort of old school. But the surgeon that I work with, she is an upper limb surgeon, so she does a little bit of shoulder, but elbow, wrist, and hand is really where she sees most of her clients. So she's very specialist. She doesn't do any injections into tennis elbow anymore at all because they're detrimental, essentially. So I would say yes, run out of the door. Don't have a shot. Don't have a shot. You can heal it without. Moist or dry heat, it doesn't matter. Most people prefer the moist heat, but it really doesn't matter. A hot water bottle can be great. Heating pads that you throw in the microwave, heating pads that you plug in, it all counts. Whatever works for you. I tend to prefer the heating pads that go in the microwave just because they have like beads or, corn or something like that in them, and they tend to just mold around the area a little better, especially when we're trying to mold around the elbow and mold around the forearm. The plug-in ones just don't tend to be quite as malleable, but that's really the only reason. So it's really whatever works for you. So just to recap, braces and straps do have a place, but ideally we try and avoid them because we don't want to weaken the muscles. Your action item for today is to get some heat on there and post a picture in the group. And then you'll be joining me again tomorrow for talking all about posture, ergonomics, sleeping, how to get a better night's sleep. We're going to talk all about that tomorrow. So does anybody have any other questions? I am happy to answer them. Or have I just everyone's like, oh my goodness. You are more than welcome. Okay, if everybody is good, feel free to, if a question comes up and like, oh, I should have asked her this. Obviously, I'll be here again tomorrow, but feel free to post in the group if need be, or post under this thread, whatever works for you. That is completely fine. And I've enjoyed this. This has been great to spend half an hour with you guys. All right, so I will see you all tomorrow. Go get the heat on right now. Post your picture, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, take care, guys. Bye.